Hi, everyone, and welcome to Straight Talk with Sophia and One. Today, it's May the 5th, 2023. We're going to be talking about creation while constrained, actually. And we have a questioner with us. It's going to ask a question, and then we'll get started. So would you like to summarize the question for us?
Sure. Yes, I am. My quest. Well, I just wanted to mention that I'm a medical provider, and I talk with my patients every single day, and I try to speak of love and encouragement during their routine care. I reached out today because so very many are overwhelmed, tired, hopeless. There's such a tremendous need of humans right now in our more challenging times, just to feel love and to receive healing. I find others are trying to show more love and caring. I feel the light quotient is rising. I sure feel it. We're all so beautiful, but so constrained, which is limiting our manifestation attempts. We're so constrained in our time and in our energies and in our finances. I've been discouraged so often. I honor and respect my journey. I know I have the love and skills to share, but I'm frustrated by the constraints of life right now. I and others are working very long hours to support more and more of our family members, leading to exhaustion. I'm working in a job that's not my passion right now because I was actually fired from my previous health job because I would not be vaccinated. I'm left just with no time or energy to create my new clinic, my passion, a new kind of care that we desperately need. It's definitely outside of our current system, but it also requires significant financial resources, which I just don't have right now. I see exactly what I and other medical providers should be offering: more natural medicine, new technology, energy medicine, free for all. There are so many of us intending and trying to manifest our golden age of oneness and love. So my question for one is, how can we manifest without being freed of our current constraints? I will not stop I will not stop trying to create. I'm actually trying to retrain myself right now in some spare time, but I'm struggling. Can you give us some encouragement?
Thank you. And yes, this is I think a beautiful um, description actually and focuses really on healthcare and you and people who do the
Mm-hmm.
kind of work that you do. So I'll start to read it, and I'm going to talk specifically about you initially because there's always something that I think might be a help to you. So I will just start to
Mm-hmm.
read, and feel free to interrupt me if I'm saying something that you want to comment on. Okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the first thing that one said was, she is a powerful one. Her frustration stems from an inner knowing of what is possible, which is a realization of her own abilities. In other times and other lives, see her in full recognition and utilization of them, for she is of the angelic realm, and here with many of her brethren to provide a needed boost for the race. She chose this life for a specific task, and it has roots in one of her specialties, for she is a healer. Those who originate in the angelic realm do enter into lives of service always. It is their natural tendency and will be primary. Inhabiting a human body asks something that the angelic realm is not practiced at giving, and that would be self-care. She is not often in human form and is not remembering the complex needs she holds. She needs to be supported and cared for. This is what humans do for one another. They care for each other. This is humans' primary expression of love. She is reminded here of a lifetime in which this expression, which would be being a caregiver, was exploited and in it she experienced a sense of failure that came from exhaustion. She felt as if she had not completed her task while human, and for one of this realm, that is a devastating thing. In this her current lifetime, she aims to do the opposite. She will not let that happen. And later in our conversation, he went on to say
Mhm.
that you do not let that happen. That's not what you do this time. This time you succeed. Um, so, and then he said here that let her recognize that just by asking the questions, she has surpassed where she last was. So she can relax a bit
Uh,
and know that she will not repeat her prior perceived failure. He never said it was a failure. He said that that was the
no,
perception of the life because exhaustion set in and prevented it. What I imagine was be you completing what you felt you wanted to. Um, the next portion of the discussion centered on the healing profession.
oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
And he said he'd like to talk about the corporate medical monopoly.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and he did say some different things. I won't read them all, but I'll say this. He said um, it could be a source of encouragement or will be that the profession is filled with humans whose origin is also the angelic realm. This has never been truer than it is now. And also that there are many that you would actually call angelic warriors. They are here now, ready to initiate a change in that system. He said,
Definitely feel that.
do you see that? Because you work in the field.
Oh, yes. There's many of my colleagues that are just we've had to reach this point. It's very frustrating to work in a system that, in order for us to be paid, we're in that system. In
Mm-hmm,
order for us to do what we need to do, it has to be supported by our patients, and that's not what we want to do. It needs to be free for all. And
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's welling up. I see that
You do. Okay.
in my
And then,
colleagues. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He said the feeling of desperation in them is real and it is valid. Um,
Mhm.
he goes on to talk about healing, and he said healing is a recovery from something that has gone wrong or been damaged. It is a return to health. And he talked next about an acknowledgement of energy. Those who yearn to utilize a more natural approach are more than likely already doing so with their frequency and their energetic imprint. These healthcare workers are light workers, and light workers dispense light. And this light is the foundation of truth and stands amid darkness and offers respite regardless of the environment. This light is
Mm.
the start of health and primary to every health care worker. Did I talk over you there for a sec?
Absolutely agree. No,
Yeah.
and I see such response when you stop and just try to connect and to give love and hope. And oh my goodness, the response is huge for both of us. It's
Mhm,
definitely a light and an energy that's shared.
mhm. And that's how it amplifies, right? By connecting with
Mhm.
another when it's
Mhm.
happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
He said that their light is counteracting the darkness in the field, and it's doing so in every institution where it's found. Um, he said, I'm trying to find what I want to say here. Here's some ideas that will inspire confidence and encouragement. Um, revolve around what has already been accomplished as well as what is present within the individual, for both will be offered as landmarks and signposts that tell you you are doing a fine job. This should be validation and telling you that you're accomplishing what it is you set out to. He speaks about a reference to the dark agenda, and
Mhm.
then and he says that it's only evident recently because of the light of the healthcare workers, because it becomes more evident as truths are uncovered and illuminated with light. And this is your light, the light of the healthcare worker. For the darker agenda is not held there. And so, in other words, he's saying that the reason that you guys are the reason that it's seen now, because you've amplified the light, illuminated it, and everybody is aware now, and nobody was before, or
Mhm.
fewer people, I guess, were before.
Mhm.
He said, so what he's saying here, and what I definitely felt throughout it, was that the light and the work that is done by you and by your colleagues, that's not the medical profession isn't where the darkness is. The darkness is where the money is
Mhm.
at the corporate level,
Exactly.
right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yes, it is.
and he said that in some places, the health of individuals being served has become obscured by the amount of money or potential income they represent. And this is at the corporate level. So just acknowledge
Mhm.
that, and it was acknowledging all along that it's not. Yeah, I just had this feeling that there was this welling up of professionals, medical professionals, who are changing it, but it's at a base level. It's not, it's reaching corporate, but you're dealing with it still, like it's still in transition. And I'll read more from what he said about that, but there's definitely a feeling that there's not a lot of darkness at the hands-on level where you're dealing with patients. The darkness comes
I,
from,
I I would agree. We
yeah.
all are feeling the pressure. We're all feeling the need to change, and as a matter of fact, so many are leaving the profession and starting what they view as real healing.
Mm-hmm,
The financial constraints are there. It has
mm-hmm,
to be supported by the patients, and it still doesn't feel right. It is a good start, and
mm-hmm,
but it needs to be for everyone, not for those that can afford it.
mm-hmm,
That's where my frustration is.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. He also wanted to say that there are some angels at the corporate level as well that won't be bought out, and that they will help shift it. So
Oh,
that was a good thing to hear, actually. Um,
it was.
He just said they'll remain steadfast as beacons of light, and they will be part of this eventual shift. They will help to shift it. Um, and that health services are going to shift along with humanity. It's not gonna, I didn't ever feel that it was going to self-destruct and that everybody would be on their own. I felt like there was going to be the service itself would transform. He said
Mm,
it would receive an overhaul, actually, and that one of the first things to shift will be healthcare, because it's getting so much focus right now.
yes.
Because
Yeah.
right, and that's because of where we all are since 2020. He said, natural health supportive modalities survive and proliferate regardless of what the medical corporate I can't speak, what the medical corporate monopoly says about them. And this is due to health caregivers like you and others and your colleagues who refuse to comply completely, and who bring light into every place they go, with every patient they deal with. And he said ultimately it will be light that is utilized in healing, and
Mhm.
it will be recognized as for its ability to disable aggressive organisms, as well as reset to parts damaged. And again,
Love it.
yeah, as he said many times, light is what
Healing.
what we are, and also what healthcare workers hold in abundance and utilize in what they do. He said healthcare workers are to be honored for holding the light throughout centuries of darkness. Their ancestors provided methods and practices that have withstood every error and remain effective alternatives. It's an honorable tradition. and it emerges from a deep love for the race. This is why these methods of hands-on healing, light therapy, natural remedies, and of energetic influence are known to you today. It is because of the tradition and the strength and determination of those who practice healthcare and carry it forward. This is something to have faith in. It's something to be encouraged by.
And I am. It's so good to hear. It's it makes a lot of sense that I was thinking that we just have to create something incredibly separate, and it gives me a lot of encouragement to hear we can transform what we have instead.
Right.
Maybe both.
Right. I think that's what it sounds like. He said the next thing he said actually is your work paves the way for the next phase of health care. It will be necessary for some powerful healers like you to hold the light. This will be a beacon for others who feel confusion and loss in the chaos of change. These lights will need to hold on and remain steadfast in their own truth, the truth about the human and the truth about the possibilities of love and light. For these things will one day be commonly known, but they're not known now. And that you are living, we all are living, but you specifically in that system are living through the chaos of change and the dismantling of the current system that was focused on perpetual need rather than continued health. And that when this dismantles, it will leave many stunned professionals in its wake. Part of her work and the work of others like her is to offer reassurance, love, and information when that happens, for these are well-intentioned souls who do not realize that they are on a sinking ship. So I don't know about that. I think you probably know more about that than I do, but I thought that was interesting and informative.
Well, I think that mirrors pretty much the public as well, not just in healthcare, but just in finding out the truth and the realizations of what's happening to us on the geopolitical scale, everything. There's many people that are going to be stunned, and we're here to offer support and light to them, no matter what it is that they are finding out and having to deal with. We'll be there.
Right. And you know, there's still, we talked about which I don't want to say too much on this because of the restrictions and censorship here, but the you know, the injected substance, right?
Yeah,
I was just speaking
absolutely.
right to someone that I know that was injected as recently as like 2 weeks ago. Now
No,
that
really.
must be like the 7th or something. I don't know, but I was floored, and I don't say a lot because it's not my place to say, really isn't, you know. And so I was just floored that that was still going on. I guess I have just blocked out that that was still happening and people were still doing it. But yeah, so you know,
Yeah,
there's what yeah.
I was just going to say, in my situation, that particular medication, I instinctively and through research, I understood exactly what it was, and I would start to share that with my patients, stating, now this is your choice, but really want you to be well informed. And basically, I was called on the carpet and given a script to read people. And that was all I was stated, that my job depended on it. It was just amazing. It was an amazing time to have experienced that in the last couple of years. Yeah. So yes, I'm happy to see that much of the truth is coming out in the different medications, and we'll be there to support people.
Right. That's part of actually what the work is and why you're probably still in the profession at all, so that you can, right, continue to do that.
Yep. I didn't give up. Still here.
So yay. And so many are, and yeah, and I remember, yeah, so I don't want to divert attention from the rest of what's said here, because the rest of this talks about creation itself. And
lovely.
and this is um I'll try to read the highlights. So, or I will read the
Mm,
highlights.
okay.
He said, in every moment creation occurs. And specifically, in healthcare, the pull of the monopoly and its control is strong. And this definitely colors your canvas. And I'll just read, you tell me if you understand what he's trying to say here. So he says, the first thing to say is to acknowledge where you are focused, because focus determines creation. As creator beings, you have the capacity to either amplify or diminish the effect of something, and this occurs due to focus. Focus entails conversation, writing, arguing, complaining, contemplating. As you go about your work in a profession riddled with opposing viewpoints, it would help to place your focus elsewhere. And this is not to say to ignore those constraints. It is to say that it is far better to acknowledge their existence as a starting point for an alternative. See them, utilize them as jumping off points for something you can get behind. It is important that the alternative have a foundation, so focus there. When constraints are seen as tools rather than chains, they will bolster your efforts. Now you know what you don't want. This defines the field in which you want to create further. Creation is directed energy. It happens when there is a concurrence of belief that a thing is possible. It gains strength and speed with persistence. To create outside of the current system, what will help is joy, humor, love, and compassion. Infuse your work and your service and each interaction with these things. They are critical, for in these moments of pure emotion, you'll discover the baseline for the type of healthcare you can believe in. You'll find satisfaction in the responses of your clients. They will tell you what is true and what is necessary. And then he said, the next step is to see the change you desire. Make it real with either visualizing it, drawing it, writing it. Hold it to every standard that will satisfy you, because this is your dream. Don't hold back on this part. And then again, he said, creation takes place with intended action. You will see evidence of your action expanding when you take a minute and lift your head up out of the craziness and notice if you, when you can. And he said, then you'll notice something changed in the field. And at first it might be subtle, but they will persist as long as your aim is steady. And he never gave me the feeling, I just want to add this, that this was a futile enterprise. Like, what it definitely gave me the feeling that this was this was a inspired what it is that you and other people, your colleagues, are doing is a huge service to creation. He said that the life you live was meant to be done as a way shower. You are setting down foundational ideas and others are watching. You're not wasting your efforts, and this part will not last much longer. And then he went on to say, you are the strongest of the strong. Your work is not in vain, and it will be met soon with assistance in all ways necessary.
Oh, good to know.
And I didn't, go ahead. No,
Go
you
ahead.
go ahead. Well, I didn't see anything
It makes,
specific, but go ahead. I'm going to be
okay.
quiet.
It just, yeah, it just, as you were reading that, it just every piece fit together. I could see a time, let's just say 2020, when we were over our heads and knee deep in the conflict
Mm-hmm.
of our souls
Mm-hmm.
and the way that we were meant to practice. And we kind of wallowed in it and it was stuck in the mud, if you would. But now
Mm-hmm.
I can see that actually as a tool, as a step for us. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we've been there, and now, I mean, we've been to the bottom, and now we can use that information and use that experience and go far beyond the box. Now we know what we don't want, and we are working and intending and seeing what we do, and we're going to create it. There's enough of us that we will.
Mm-hmm.
And he made perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what was going through my mind, with especially with intending, and that is the biggest part of manifestation right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as this came through, I was seeing a huge baseline or cushion of light that was you
Uh,
guys. Yeah, and it was definitely there. It's everywhere. It's not just this country, it's all countries. There,
yes.
everyone in that field. And for me, it made so much sense that this field is filled with angels. It just makes
Oh,
sense to me because
ah,
you
just made
know
me
that,
cry.
yeah, well, that's what he said, and that's what he said, and I went, of course, that's because angels are 100% service, and that's what the profession is, 100% service. Every person, every interaction, everything.
It is. It's the lifeblood. It's what they live and breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I can meet everyone and see that in them to a small extent or a large extent. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how clouded they are by these constraints or perceived constraints anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. He said, I'm gonna read a few more things here. He said, um, when you're met with assistance, which is the last thing I read, the burden you bear will be lifted then, and you will know it has been worth it, that you are appreciated and deeply honored for this work on earth at a time when so much is at stake for the race. Know that you are not alone. Imagine teams of support staff with you always, for they are.
Oh,
So I
more
felt
angels.
more angels. That's what I actually saw, if you want
That,
the
that's what I
visual.
saw too
Did
when you
you?
said that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yes,
what
I did.
a team, the team of angels.
I could
Um,
see it.
right there, like always, not just showing up once in a while, but always, like kind of just, holding the light with you or amplifying it maybe
Yeah.
with you, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's just lovely. That gave
Mm-hmm.
so much encouragement and a little bit of clarity and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of insight. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that it helped.
It
It
did.
it 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 is really nice to hear that from someone who's not in the medical profession, but who obviously has dealt with it. And I can tell you, which you must know, people, just us regular folks that have to rely on the medical profession, don't know where to turn sometimes, because of kind of being afraid by being swept away in the medical system, that's going to um, apply protocols that are going to be harmful or at least not be helpful. And it's nice.
We're gonna break out.
Hmm.
You've got to feel that we're going to break out. We're going to do the right thing. We're going
Hmm.
to do what humanity deserves, and
Hmm.
we will do it. There's so many of us, and so many of us. All we have to do is start talking, and it starts pouring out from each person. You felt
Hmm.
that way too? Yes, I
Hmm.
always have.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, what
yeah.
do we do about it?
What can we do, right? Or who do you
Hmm.
go to, or who do you see, and yeah, yeah, there's a lot of I feel like,
I also feel like the financial constraints are not really going to be an issue. Just
mm-hmm,
an underlying knowing that it couldn't be. Not
mm-hmm,
it's not the way it's supposed to be for humanity.
no,
So we
no,
won't have that. There'll be something that happened that would just explode our creativity because we don't have these other constraints.
mm-hmm,
So it's a fine world that we're going to be going into that we
mm-hmm.
have right now.
We
Actually,
have
we're
right now.
manifesting it.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because you said we wouldn't have that. And we are the creators here. So what would we create? Well, what are we creating? Part of what was said that I didn't read was that he said creation is 24/7. You can't stop creating. And you can stop unintentionally creating, but you can't stop creating. We're always creating. And what are we all creating right now? We're creating it to be abundant and vibrant and health supporting and life supporting. I mean, that's what we all want: love, compassion,
Hmm.
right? And everywhere we go, at the grocery store, at the doctor's office, everywhere we
You
go.
know,
So,
I'd love to say we'll just wait for the med beds, but actually connecting to others and giving them time, energy, and love,
mhm.
um, I I see them walk out differently. I mean, this
Yes.
this is part of it right here.
Mhm. Mhm. And you can do that in every interaction,
Every single one.
every
Yeah.
single one. Everyone can leave you
Grocery
feeling.
store.
Grocery store, right? Everywhere you go, you just say, well, and I think that if we all have that notion in our head that we're going to intend it to be, a day filled with love and compassion, or spreading of light, or however we choose to word it in our heads, we'll just do it. We are doing it. I see it differently now. When I go out, it's different.
Mhm.
you know
Mhm.
People are different. And there's no reason why it won't continue, because we're in charge. That's the wonderful thing, right?
It's increasing.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
it's lovely to be in it with everyone else that's listening to this. You're all angels,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll do this.
Yes, we will. So I'll just
Yep.
close down and stop the recording real quick. Is there anything else you wanted to say before I?
And that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're giving me such light and love. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And thank you for asking the question. Some wonderful
Hmm.
insights came as a result. And I'm going to say to everyone listening, that's all for today. Thank you for listening to our conversation and contributing to our journey, and lots of love and light. And we'll see you next time.